Hello everyone, Marine here for Sunny Studio. Thanks for stopping by. I'm back today with an Enchanted Christmas shaker card featuring the forest trees stencils, bear hugs for the trees, and Holiday Express for the presents, tiny snowflake and sentiment. We also have Garden Fairy for two fairies and the flowers, seasonal trees for the biggest pine tree, scenic route for the strings of lights, penguin pals for the candy canes, enchanted for the biggest star. I also used some die sets. We have a stitched oval 2 and scalloped oval mat 1. I used the grass border die from Picket Fence. And finally, the wood grain 6x6 embossing folder. I started by stamping the images. You can see a bunch of flowers at the bottom. I ended up not using them, so I saved them for another card. So I stamped the images using extreme black ink by My Favorite Things. I used the coordinating dies to cut them all. And before coloring everything using my alcohol markers, I used my Memento black pen to give long sleeves to my three cute fairies. And I'm saying three, but in the end, only two of them will make it to the final result. After the coloring, I cut some elements to create my window frame. I started by cutting a 5.5 by 4.25 inches panel out of white cardstock. And to cut an opening out of this panel, I used the largest die from the Stitched Oval 2 die set. And to give this window panel some interest, I used the wood grain embossing folder. I just placed my panel in that folder and I sent it to my die cutting machine to get this beautiful wood grain texture all over the panel. I attached this window panel on a piece of clear acetate. And then I attached foam tape at the back of that panel all around the oval shape and on the four corners as well. Next I moved on to the background and I started by covering a 5.5 by 4.25 inches Bristol panel with spun sugar distress ink. And I used the forest tree stencils to create a pretty forest background. I taped my spun sugar panel to my work surface and used the window panel as a guide to see where I needed to start the inking. I also taped the stencil to my glass surface and then I applied some worn lipstick distress ink to create my first line of trees that I blended using my spun sugar blending tool again. Next I took another forest tree stencil and repeated the same process. Some worn lipstick distressing first, and then my spun sugar blending tool to blend the colors nicely. And of course I added some texture to this background, but not too much. Some water droplets first. And next I mixed some festive berries distressing with water to create tiny splatters on the paper and this way bring a little more contrast. Next I took my window panel again and before adding sequins and assembling the different elements, I used my powder tool to get rid of any stickiness along the inside edges of the oval foam tape. So I applied a generous amount of powder along those edges. I also cleaned up the acetate window using a microfiber cloth. Next I poured lots of clear sequins directly on the acetate window. And I stuck my forest tree panel right on top of the window panel to create and totally close the shaker panel. And to bring more interest to this window and make it even more pretty, I created a frame. I cut a scalloped oval shape using the largest die from the Scalloped Oval Matte 1 die set. And I used the largest die from the Stitched Oval 2 die set to cut an opening in that scalloped oval shape. And this way create a frame that I attached on my wood grain panel using liquid glue. I cut a grass border out of white cardstock and stamped my sentiment on it. And I attached that border at the bottom of my panel using foam squares at both ends. And then I stuck all my cute images using foam squares mostly, and also liquid glue. Once everything was attached, I added lots of details and highlights on the images, and I stuck my panel on a white card base. And that's it! We have a magical Christmas shaker scene in the forest, and I hope that you like it. See you very soon for another Sunny Studio card. Thanks for watching and have a very nice day. Bye!